Kia ora, my name is Molly Goodisson. I am a fourth year food science student at the University of Otago, and my dissertation has been commissioned by the Central Otago District Council, where I'm trying to understand the opportunities that fruit processors may have when trying to combat regional fruit loss and waste. As many of you know, food waste is a problem, and it has been named one of the things that we can do to try and fight climate change, and how a region can collaborate and come together and fight this problem all together is something that hasn't been done before, so it's a really exciting space. Essentially what I did is I went through to Central Otago, conducted 10 semi-structured interviews with a range of different processors in the region, and tried to get an understanding of their perception of the issue, as well as what they're creating, what equipment they're using, the utilisation of that equipment, the storage that they have, and trying to get a really holistic view in terms of what they think solutions may look like for the region. It's really cool because many people are out there, and I found that they care a lot about the issue, and fruit waste is very close to their hearts. They work pretty hard for what they do, and so seeing it go to waste is it's not that fun. So a lot of growers have come up with creative ways to repurpose this. So whether it looks like pasteurising their pulp, which is a byproduct of something, and stabilising it so then therefore it can be repurposed later. Or creating their own worm farm, which they then in turn use the pomace from their juicing to nourish that worm farm. However, there are a lot of barriers that have come up to show why people maybe aren't utilising the resources as much as they could. So, for example, a lot of businesses and companies in the region are very small, they're very isolated. They don't have big marketing teams, so they find it really hard to infiltrate markets and therefore sell product. And why would you make more product when you can't sell? Secondary to this, people are very proud of their knowledge that they've managed to collect and all together, so therefore sharing that knowledge can be a bit of a barrier in wanting to work with others. So therefore a next step in terms of what could be done next in the region is looking at those barriers and trying to understand ways that we can then therefore break them down and help those in the region collaborate and come together, trying to reduce fruit loss overall. So as you can see here in my little schematic, maybe you've got cherries from Cromwell coming in and getting frozen in Alex, and then they'll go through to the Teviot Valley where they can be juiced and made into concentrate. So yeah, and then it's also awesome and really exciting. Next coming up for this project is looking at the nutritionals of fruit in Central Otago and what that may look like and whether it's a unique selling point to them. And it's all eyes on Central Otago at the moment, and with the hopes to inspire other fruit and vegetable growing regions in the country to make similar actions themselves, and try also find ways that they can reduce their fruit loss and waste.
Kia ora everyone, my name is Lizzie Cunliffe and I am a fourth year Consumer Food Science Honours student studying here at the University of Otago. My research dissertation this year is on upcycling, specifically looking into insights into upcycling from a manufacturer's perspective. To gather these insights, I went out and spoke to food manufacturers directly. I spoke to those who are currently upcycling food or those who are interested or have explored the potential to upcycle. The objective of my interviews was to discover the challenges, opportunities and support needed to promote the development of the sector in Aotearoa. I conducted a thematic analysis to decipher the results of the interviews into coded themes based on the frequency of occurrence. Consumer perception was a recurring theme presented in the challenges. People often question, why should I buy this product if it is a reused waste? The main challenge is educating the consumer that the product is food safe, nutritionally good, and a good thing for the environment. Concerns around safety, quality, and logistics. Depending on the surplus, it may have a limited shelf life. To transport this, producers need to consider whether the surplus product is still going to arrive in a usable state for further processing. without deteriorating. Quality and safety concerns also arise at how the surplus is treated at the initial processing step. One manufacturer stated that they have really struggled with getting a surplus of a knowable enough quality, as the producers view these products as waste. The first benefit is the positive environmental impact of upcycling. Although many strategies, such as food waste prevention, are needed to combat the food waste problem, upcycling takes products out of the waste cycle and utilises resources as much as possible by putting them back into the food ecosystem. Another benefit is the story side of upcycling. There is a feel-good story attached to upcycling. One manufacturer stated, "People respond very well to the story. It is a unique selling point." Looking at a cost perspective, another benefit is that companies are getting a fairly cheap raw material and transforming it into a high-value product. In terms of the external support needed to promote the upcycling sector, a wider PR angle is needed to educate the public on a macro level of the benefits of upcycling. Another big support system identified would be an external third-party establishment to support upcycling. For example, a potential independent party who is there to assess the potential value of any food surplus, provide skills and knowledge in the sector, as well as facilitate the collaboration of organisations to upcycle. Another area of support is funding. A turn-off for manufacturers wanting to upcycle is the high initial costs associated with the research, processing equipment, connections, people's skills, as well as infrastructure. Overall, I am hoping that my research will encourage more manufacturers to consider upcycling. Thank you.
How many people here like a nice, crisp, clear beer? A Pilsner perhaps? Well, too bad. The world's gone hazy. Why is that, I hear you ask? It is because of the delicious power of hops. You see, your conventional beer, your Pilsners and your lagers, utilise hops only in the boiling stage of brewing. During this process, the bittering precursors, the alpha acids, are transformed into the isoalpha acids that make the delicious bitterness of your favourite beer. Hazy beers utilise a second process alongside boiling to deliver even more flavour. These flavours are the floral and tropical flavours that have taken over the New Zealand craft beer scene. This process is called dry hopping, where hops are added to the cold beer post-fermentation. This extracts all those flavours that just can't handle the heat. Most hop components are fairly insoluble in cold conditions, so without the heat aiding the extraction process, it results in the hops being poorly utilised. Not only does this mean that a lot of hops must be used to deliver their wonderful flavour, but also that many of the relatively insoluble compounds, such as the alpha acids, are still retained in the hops after dry hopping. This is a big waste of the hop's potential, but where lies the true problem? The problem lies in the slurry recovered after dry hopping, a mix of hops, beer and yeast. The slurry has a hefty environmental impact due to the high biological oxygen demand it has and its high nutritional content. It is also a costly waste to treat and represents a loss of beer for the brewery. This results in a waste that has a high cost for both the environment and the business, and I want to help address this. My research is looking into the potential for recovery and evaluation of spent hops as a bittering agent in the boil stage of brewing. This will be done by reusing the retained alpha acids, the bittering compounds, in the spent hops in a new brew. The aim of this research being to assess how well spent hops perform in comparison to fresh hops in the boiling stage, and whether they could be a viable and more sustainable brewing alternative. The impacts of this research benefit the environment and reduce waste by allowing partial or even full replacement of bittering hops with spent hops from the fermenter. This will reduce the amount of fresh hop used and reduce the amount of hop-derived biological waste entering the wastewater treatment system or landfill. The benefits can be realised by breweries as they will be able to reduce the costs surrounding the purchase of fresh hops and reduce the amount of money spent on waste disposal. Overall, my research wants to make the world a hoppier place.
Bread is one of the largest contributors to food waste at the grocery retail level due to it being withdrawn from the grocery shelves close to its end of shelf life and going to either animal feed, compost or landfill, where it is shown to contribute to CO2 emissions. Upcycling, which is the concept of adding value to ingredients that would otherwise be wasted, is one of the ways to reduce bread waste and its impact on the environment. Examples of upcycled bread products in New Zealand include beer from Citizens Brewery, gin from the Dunedin Craft Distillers, and baked goods and condiments from Risky Kitchen. One of the ways bread can be upcycled is by turning it into flour, similar to what is being done by Risky Kitchen. To do this, the bread is simply dried and ground up to a fine powder. However, the applications of this upcycled bread flour are limited due to the fundamental changes that the wheat flour undergoes during baking. Native starch molecules found in the wheat flour used to make bread are damaged, resulting in them having an increased ability to absorb and hold water. Secondly, the gluten proteins are denatured, which leads to a loss in gluten functionality in the resulting upcycled bread flour. Gluten plays a vital role in bread as it contributes to the final texture and provides structure to trap gas cells, thus creating volume. Upcycled bread flour has had some successful applications in cookies, cakes and extruded snacks. However, there has been a limited application for use in bread making, as both these changes are detrimental to dough properties and final bread qualities. My research is investigating how to make upcycled bread using flour made from bread. I started by substituting varying amounts of upcycled bread flour in place of wheat flour during bread making to determine the maximum amount of upcycled bread flour that can be substituted before significant changes in bread quality occurred. I then looked at what else could be added to maximize the amount of upcycled bread flour substituted while maintaining the bread quality. The additives I used were native gluten and alpha amylase, which is a starch degrading enzyme. A 10 to 25% substitution only resulted in a slight decline in final bread quality, while a 50% substitution level resulted in a significant decline in final bread quality when compared to bread made with 100% wheat flour. Quality aspects I assessed were crust and crumb color, loaf volume, and texture parameters such as hardness and chewiness. The individual addition of gluten and alpha amylase resulted in a significant improvement in all final bread qualities when compared to the bread made with 50% upcycled bread flour. The combined use of both gluten and alpha amylase resulted in a slightly improved outcomes compared to the use of them individually, but the effect was lower than expected. However, the use of additives, although useful, still did not result in a bread that was comparable in quality to bread made with 100% wheat flour. I believe that upcycled bread flour can help to reduce the use of wheat flour in bread, help to reduce food waste, and create additional revenue stream for manufacturers. This also represents an opportunity to expand the upcycled food category beyond discretionary and snack foods, as bread is a staple food in many diets and can provide essential nutrients. There is also potential for upcycled bread to be sold as a dry baking mix, either as a consumer-facing good or business-to-business ingredient to be produced. Although the perfect bread was not achieved in the study, there may be no need to replicate the properties of conventional bread found in the supermarket, since upcycled foods are being marketed as their own food category. Lastly, to answer everyone's question, does bread from bread taste good? Yes, it does. It's pretty good.
Have you ever thought about where your eyes are looking or the facial expressions that you're portraying when looking at products in the supermarket? And have you ever considered how this could be used for market research? Myself and a group of fourth year students from the University of Otago Food Science Department are conducting a research project looking into consumer perceptions of upcycled food, utilising eye tracking and automated facial expression analysis technologies. We have created packaging designs for an upcycled oat bar product and a non-upcycled oat bar product. We have conducted these with three different ways, including a value for money option, a health-based option, and a environmentally friendly option. Packaging communications have been researched and valuable information has been found so far. Some includes that the packaging communications can express sustainability about a product to the consumer. They can also show the process that went into the production of that product. But most importantly, they help consumers make their purchasing decisions in the supermarket.
We collected 45 participants from the university who were aged between 18 and 25, had normal vision and had bought a Muesli bar in the last 3 months. We set them down one at a time at our testing station, which had 2 monitors, one for the researcher to make sure everything was going correctly, and the other one for the participant to do the task on, and also had the eye tracking and facial expression hardware equipped onto it. We provided them with a supermarket scenario in which they would choose between 2 products, an upcycled oat bar versus a non-upcycled oat bar, and while they're looking at the packaging, making the decisions, their eye movements and their facial expressions are being recorded. We then got them to fill out a questionnaire surrounding their familiarity around upcycling, and then after that we collected data on their attitudes around upcycling, health, sustainability and economic. And then at the end they were free to choose and write down whether their decisions were influenced anyway by the upcycling products.
There is a need for the study, as we need to evaluate how packaging communications can influence consumer purchasing behaviour in regards to upcycled foods. There is a great market potential for upcycled foods, as it poses a promising solution to help tackle the issue of food waste through a circular economy. We need to analyse how consumers react to different communication framings to reveal what appropriate messages, signals and cues are required to increase acceptance for upcycled products and how it aligns with the economic, health and sustainability values. We have just finished our data analysis and now we are trying to read into the data. This heat map shows a correlated response of 45 participants, and we can see the areas of interest at the back, front and side of the pack. So the areas of interest are the upcycling journey, how upcycling process works, and also any health claim related messages.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Hello everyone. My name is Briar Mills and I've just begun a Master of Science at the University of Otago with the Departments of Human Nutrition and Food Science and the Sustainability Office. Food waste has been an interest of mine for the last 2 years, as it is a combination of 2 things I am passionate about, sustainability and food. So when it came time to look into postgrad study options, it was something I was keen to explore. Before beginning my MSc, I completed a research project with support from Waste Management New Zealand. This project centred around food waste at tertiary institutes around Aotearoa. Because of their large size, tackling campus food waste will help tertiary institutes meet carbon emission and landfill targets, as well as work towards SDG 12.3. I interviewed representatives from 13 universities, polytechnics and wānanga around Aotearoa to discuss what initiatives they had in place around food waste. Using the International Best Practice Target Measure Act approach, the initiatives at each institute were categorised, as you can see on the table. 5 institutes had formal targets, while 6 had less specific targets, such as net carbon zero by 2030, without a focus on food waste. 7 institutes had ongoing food waste measurement, including receiving data from waste management companies. Others had intermittent audits and estimates, while 1 institute had no measurement. There were also a range of actions in place, with all institutes having at least 2 initiatives in place. Worm farms were a really popular initiative, with 11 institutes talking about them. 10 institutes also donate leftovers from events to organisations such as students' associations and food rescues. While there were over 20 initiatives currently in place, most were aimed at dealing with too much waste rather than focusing on not producing as much and creating the waste in the first place. These approaches were towards the bottom of the waste hierarchy, indicating a need for change. Tertiary institutes in Aotearoa need to include food waste in formal goals, commit to regular measurements, and implement actions focusing on prevention rather than disposal. Now with my master's project, I'm going to be doing an audit of all of the food waste at the University of Otago's Dunedin campus, primarily focusing on the residential colleges. Hopefully, this will be the beginning of the measure phase for Otago, and once we've got an idea of how much food we are wasting, we can work on initiatives to minimise it. I'm excited to get started and hope that this will have an impact on our food waste. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. Food waste is a problem in many countries in the world, and Aotearoa is no exception. I'm sure that the presenters before me have already emphasised the scale of food waste globally and in New Zealand. We are already aware of the multidimensional impacts of food waste on our environment, food security and economy. Food waste needs to be tackled by a multi-pronged approach that should include providing infrastructure to prevent food waste and having policies and regulations in place to prevent food waste by commercial food retailers. But being an educator, I've always believed that the third approach, which involves creating awareness among young and old alike, is a powerful tool to reduce food waste. As long as people are simply passive consumers, no incentives or deterrents can prevent food waste. Therefore, my research focused on education to increase awareness about food waste among young adolescents and promote positive behavior, attitudes, and values towards it. So I designed an intervention based on the findings of a pre-survey conducted with a sample group. After the intervention, the students seemed more aware of the reasons for food waste and also its direct and indirect impacts. Data analysis indicated an increased positive behavior of the students towards food waste. Their reported attitudes and values towards food waste also pointed towards a more positive shift. They had improved food waste behavior in their classroom too. They reported talking to their families and whānau about food waste. Some even started packing their lunch boxes with the appropriate food portions so that they didn't end up wasting food. Many were eager to initiate food waste composting or have worm bins in their backyards. It was amazing. Moreover, I also identified some barriers which may not allow the students to prevent food waste, even if they want to. For example, they may not have any say in the decision making of buying food in their family or decisions with leftover food. The class teacher was another stakeholder in this entire process and played a crucial role in this journey. She also reported being more aware of food waste issues after this intervention, which emphasizes the usefulness of food waste education for teachers too. My research highlights the importance of including food waste education in the New Zealand curriculum, which will promote the broadening of environmental literacy among students and help in mitigating the problem of food waste. Ngā mihi nui.
Kia ora everyone, my name is Hayden Prenter and I've just completed the Master of Marketing course at the University of Otago with my thesis focusing on consumer food waste. So despite best intentions, most consumers throw away a substantial amount of food every year, with the psychological phenomenon of the intention behaviour gap being identified as a large barrier to reducing consumer food waste. The thesis explored two alternative predictors of food waste behaviour. Firstly, as you can see in the diagram, the concept of trait mindfulness was brought into the intention behaviour relationship. Trait mindfulness can be understood as an individual's baseline propensity towards experiencing mindfulness in everyday life. It was hypothesized that individuals with high levels of trait mindfulness would experience a reduced intention behaviour gap. The second alternative predictor introduced to the model was the consideration of food-related routines, specifically the food-related routines of planning, shopping, and leftover reuse routines were considered as an alternative route to predicting food waste behaviour than intention. To explore the relationships of interest, a quantitative research approach was chosen through the application of a single online survey. This was built through Qualtrics. All participants involved with the study were young consumers aged 18 to 24 residing in Dunedin, and this was based off a 2021 report in New Zealand which identified this demographic as being most wasteful. Through simple moderation analysis, it was found that at high levels of trait mindfulness, the relationship between intention and behaviour was strengthened. This is the first study to analyse the moderating effect of mindfulness on the intention behaviour gap in the context of food waste. Several practical implications arose as a result of this finding. Firstly, it may be beneficial for social marketers, government organisations and NGOs to direct food waste reduction communication towards individuals with high levels of mindfulness. Encouraging intention to reduce food waste is likely to resonate more with these individuals due to them possessing a stronger intention behaviour relationship, and they've also been shown to be more empathetic about social issues, which could ultimately lead to less consumer food waste. Additionally, trait mindfulness can be considered similar to a skill. Through repeatedly engaging in mindfulness practice, individuals can develop a higher tendency to exhibit mindfulness behaviour during the course of their everyday life. This would be of particular use to encourage the alignment of intention and behaviour among individuals with lower baseline levels of trait mindfulness. In addition to this finding, simple regression analysis revealed that for individuals with lower levels of trait mindfulness, planning, shopping, and leftover reuse routines were all better predictors of food waste behaviour than intention. As individuals with low levels of mindfulness have a higher tendency to experience states of mind driven by predetermined habits, it may be valuable to encourage the development of positive food-related routines at a young age through incorporating teachings into educational systems. This would be important to prevent the development of negative food-related routines. However, some people may already have these negative food-related routines developed, in which case providing access to mindfulness facilities and to mindfulness services would be very important for these individuals to break the negative loop. So although the study identifies some promising results, it should be considered that it was cross-sectional in nature, which impacts the generalizability of findings. Nonetheless, it provides momentum to support future research into the connection between mindfulness and food waste in the endeavour of decreasing consumer food waste quantities. Thank you very much for listening, and if you'd like to know anything else about the thesis, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much.